The Epistle of Barnabas, chapter 19. The Way of Light. The way of light, then, is as follows. If anyone desires to travel to the appointed place, he must be zealous in his works. The knowledge, therefore, which is given to us for the purpose of walking in this way, is the following. Thou shalt love him that created thee. Footnote, quote, sin inserts, quote, thou shalt fear him that formed thee, unquote, end of footnote. Thou shalt glorify him that redeemed thee from death. Thou shalt be simple in heart and rich in spirit. Thou shalt not join thyself to those who walk in the way of death. Thou shalt hate doing what is unpleasing to God. Thou shalt hate all hypocrisy. Thou shalt not forsake the commandments of the Lord. Thou shalt not exert thyself, but shall be of a lowly mind. Footnote, code sin adds in all things. End of footnote. Thou shalt not take glory to thyself. Thou shalt not take evil counsel against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not allow overboldness to enter into thy soul. Footnote, literally, shall not give insolence to thy soul. End of footnote. Thou shalt not commit fornication. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not be a corrupter of youth. Thou shalt not let the word of God issue from thy lips with any kind of impurity. Footnote, that is, while proclaiming the gospel, thou shalt not in any way be of corrupt morals. That's from Hefele. End of footnote. Thou shalt not accept persons when thou reprovest anyone for transgressions. Thou shalt be meek, thou shalt be peaceable, thou shalt tremble at the words which thou hearest. Footnote, Isaiah chapter 66 verse 2. All the preceding clauses are given in the code sin in distinct lines. End of footnote. Thou shalt not be mindful of evil against thy brother. Thou shalt not be of doubtful mind. Compare James 1:8. As to whether a thing shall be or not. Thou shalt not take the name, footnote, code sin has thy name, but this is corrected as above, end of footnote, of the Lord in vain. Thou shalt love thy neighbor more than thine own soul. Footnote, code sin corrects to as thy own soul, end of footnote. Thou shalt not slay the child by procuring abortion, nor again shalt thou destroy it after it is born. Thou shalt not withdraw thy hand from thy son or from thy daughter, but from their infancy thou shalt teach them the fear of the Lord. Footnote, sin has of God. Thou shalt not covet what is thy neighbor's, nor shalt thou be avaricious. Thou shalt not be joined in soul with the haughty, but thou shalt be reckoned with the righteous and lowly. Receive thou as good things the trials, footnote, difficulties or troubles, end of footnote, which come upon thee. Footnote, consin adds, knowing that without God nothing happens, end of footnote. Thou shalt not be a double mind or a double tongue. Footnote, code sin has talkative, end of footnote, for a double tongue is a snare of death. Thou shalt be subject, footnote, code sin has thou shalt be subject to masters as a type of God, end of footnote, to the Lord, and to other masters as the image of God, with modesty and fear. Thou shalt not issue orders with bitterness to thy maidservant or thy manservant who trusts in the name. Thou shouldest not reverence that God who is above both, for he came to call men not according to their outward appearance. Footnote, compare Ephesians chapter 6 verse 9, end of footnote, but according as the Spirit had prepared them. Compare Romans 8 29 to 30. Thou shalt communicate in all things with thy neighbor. Thou shalt not call the things thine own, but if ye are partakers in the common things which are incorruptible, footnote, code sin has in that which is incorruptible, end of footnote, how much more should you be of those things which are corruptible. Footnote, quote, sin has in things that are subject to death, but is corrected as above. End of footnote. Thou shalt not be hasty with thy tongue, for the mouth is a snare of death. As far as possible, thou shalt be pure in thy soul. Do not be ready to stretch forth thy hands to take, whilst thou contractest them to give. Thou shalt love as the apple of thy eye everyone that speaketh to thee the word of the Lord. Thou shalt remember the day of judgment night and day. Thou shalt seek out every day the faces of the saints. Footnote, or the persons of the saints. Code sin admits this clause, but it is added by a corrector. End of footnote. Either by word examining them and going to exhort them, and meditating how to save a soul by the word. Footnote, this text is here confused in all the editions. We have followed that of Drisdale. Code sin is defective. End of footnote. Or by the hands thou shalt labor for the redemption of thy sins. Thou shalt not hesitate to give, nor murmur when thou givest. Give to everyone that asketh thee. Footnote. Code sin omits this quotation from Matthew 5:42 or Luke 6:30, but is added by a corrector. End of footnote. And thou shalt know who is the good recompenser of the reward. Thou shalt preserve what thou hast received in charge, neither adding to it nor taking from it. Till last thou shalt hide the wicked. Footnote, code sin has hate evil. 1. Thou shalt judge righteously, thou shalt not make a schism, but thou shalt pacify those that contend by bringing them together. Thou shalt confess thy sins, thou shalt not go to prayer with an evil conscience. This is the way of light. Footnote, code sin omits this clause, but is inserted by a corrector. End of chapter 19.